up, everybody? Tyler Brown with FutureDDS.
Terrell Friday here at FutureDDS. Now, if you pay attention to our Instagram, you would know that this past weekend we had our SNDA chapter put on an Impressions Day at our school. And basically, the Impressions Day is to help pre-dents get a little exposure and a little experience in the field, taking impressions, as well as, touring the school and getting a little feedback from admissions directors and DAT prep. So it was a pretty cool weekend. I think it went pretty well.
So today, we want to actually show you the student panel that we had. On the student panel, we had a couple of first years, a couple of second years, and a third year from our school, basically giving the students who came to Impressions Day tips on how to get into dental school and kind of showing them what our dental school schedule is like and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and roll that footage. Great. Thank you all for being here. So you can ask the smartest person you know. You can ask the most organized person that you know, and they will tell you that dental school is extremely difficult. I know that I felt the heat as soon as I got to Boston. Taking a whole bunch of classes that I had never seen before, having didactic classes as well as going into pre-clin and working up until 10 p.m. sometimes. It's really a lot. So what I want to ask the panelists are, what has been the hardest part of dental school for you so far, whether it be the transition, what made that difficult, just in general, what has made dental school difficult?
So for me personally, I did come straight from undergrad. I had my own routine, I guess, with the way I study, the way I figured what works best for me. But definitely coming into a different load of classes, taking so many credits, it still was very difficult to manage my everyday hobbies, my life, just maintaining like a healthy lifestyle while taking control of all these classes and excelling in them. So for me, it was just managing, like, working out in the morning while I'm so tired from the night before studying, and then just like that continuous cycle of like classes, and then you want to get to like relax, you want to hang out with friends. So I think that was the hardest transition, but of course everyone figures out what works for them. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. So I figured out I work best in the morning. I would wake up early, work out, go to class or like study, and then I came into a routine that worked for me, so.
It's kind of hard to say what's the hardest part about dental school because everything about it is hard. But I would say, like Melanie said, figuring out a routine. I went through my master's and I thought coming here that the master's would give me an edge, that I would be able to manage my time. And I did to an extent, but the problem is, it gets so difficult to do anything outside of dental school. That's a sacrifice that you kind of have to make. So as the time has progressed, I've learned to, I'm not a morning person, but I've learned to wake up and work out in the morning because that's very important to me. And I make time to make a phone call to my family or friends once weekly because text messaging, there's times where you forget about it. So you adapt, but the hardest part is managing life outside of dental school.
Some truths. You want to know the hardest part about dental school? Sleep. Straight sleep. Now, my situation is very unique. I have a child, a newborn daughter, who's actually in the back. But I don't sleep. That's the problem. So half the time when I'm here, I'm zombie. And so the thing is, it's balancing a schedule. Dental school is manageable. Imagine like some of the hardest classes that you've got currently, wherever you're at. Take that times like 3, and then take that from 9 in the morning till 5 in the evening. And then you got to learn all of that stuff. And then on top of that, you're here to be in dental school to work on your hands, right? So it's managing your time as best you can. And the sacrifice is very real. I don't sleep at night. Definitely don't sleep in the day. I survive off of coffee, and then when I go home, particularly, I've got to be super husband, super dad. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, but the main thing is just trying to find that balance between your personal life and what's going on at school. And the main thing you can't forget is to make sure you take care of yourself. A lot of times Friday comes around like, oh, it's time to kick it, time to turn up. Nah, not really, because on Saturday, you still got to catch up on everything you didn't learn on Tuesday in the following week. So balance is the key.
So I think that the hardest part about dental school is having perspective. I think that you get so caught up in class and your schedule and checking off all of these things on your list, and you just start complaining like, oh, why do we have 6 exams in a month, and why does the professor assign extra work, and you just get in this rut and you're complaining. And then you remember, I chose this, I want this, right? So it's really important when you're here to go to things like this and volunteer for things like this, because it reminds us, I wanted this. I worked so hard to be here, I deserve to be here, and it's a privilege to be here. And I think that is one of the hardest things, is to see the big picture and not get so caught up in school and professors. And it's not your professor, you chose it, and it's going to pay off eventually. So I think that is probably the hardest thing, is just seeing the big picture and reminding yourself that this is what you want to do with the rest of your life.
So as a first year, I'm obviously new to this whole curriculum, just kind of the pace. The biggest thing for me that's difficult is realizing we can't study 24 hours a day. And sometimes we really think that we can. We go after class, we stay until 12. So for me at this point, I'm just struggling, challenging myself to take some time and realize you can take that 2 hours and work out on Saturday morning, or you can go home. You can go home and study there, or get into bed and watch Netflix. Like, you really start to feel the pressure once that first semester is coming to a close. You're like, wow, I have so much to do, but you can do it. You just have to remind yourself, take the time, go home, make a meal, stuff like that. Self-care is really important, and it is hard to maintain that first semester for sure.
So something that Lena said, as far as perspective, it's interesting, like looking at you all, I think that we can all attest that we were literally just in you all's seats. It's actually kind of humbling to see, you all want to come to dental school. It almost motivates us to keep going hard. But then I always wonder, like, what would I have told myself, my younger self, who was in your position right now? What would I have told them, to inspire them or whatever it may be, or give them some piece of advice? So I want to ask the panelists, if you could give the younger you one piece of advice with regards to getting into dental school, what would it be?
So for me, I'm sure all of you guys are overachievers, very proactive, on it all the time. But for me, it's don't wait until you're in a bad spot to work hard. Like, I kind of spent a lot of my undergrad posting a little bit, like, oh yeah, not too pressed about grades and all of that. No, dig in now. You guys are all here. You know what you want to do. It seems like this is the time to really work for it, so you don't have to put in extra work later. Definitely identify why you're passionate about it. Go for it. Don't be afraid. You're confident. You're capable. You can definitely do it as long as you just dig in now rather than later. So that's definitely my advice.
So I think that my advice would be to make sure that you really want it. I think that it's good to do everybody needs good grades and the DAT score and, community service and research and all those check boxes, but it's important to get yourself in an office and make sure you're shadowing, maybe getting a job as an assistant. I worked as an assistant for like 6 months before I started dental school. I started shadowing a dentist super young. I just think that, you are investing your time, your money, your life, you're committing to this for your school and then this career that ultimately you'll be doing for the rest of your life. You're practicing dentistry. So dentistry is constantly changing. You are constantly practicing and learning new technology that's coming out, new procedures. And if you're not willing to adapt, you probably don't love the profession. So I think that my advice would be to shadow, get yourself in there, look at other specialties, get in other offices, and just make sure that this is really what you want to do, because that's the most important part.
So undergrad for me was kind of a roller coaster. I was probably, since you guys are all geniuses, I started off undergrad just partying and kicking it and having way too much fun, if you want me to be completely transparent. And so that ended up kicking me in the butt, because when I applied to dental school the first time, everybody was like, look at your grades, you gotta do something better, show us something you can work with. And so I would say be honest with yourself, be persistent, and then network. Honest meaning, for me, I thought the first time I applied, I was like, yeah, I can get into dental school. if I just have everything else ready to go, since they look at holistically, it'll be fine and they'll just kind of push the grades aside. Nah, that was not the case. So I had to be honest with myself and say, all right, Chris, you gotta get your grades up. So I went to grad school and turned it around that way. But in the meantime, I would say stay persistent. Whoever your friends are, family, this is a journey, as you guys already know. Taking the DAT over again, getting your grades tight, making sure you shadow, the whole 9 yards. It can be daunting, right? So surround yourself with people who are really going to push you forward. For me, that was keeping family close, wife close, and making sure that those people kept pushing me even when I felt like giving up. And then network. I took the proactive approach. I said, forget it. I'm one drop in a pool of 1 million people trying to get to dental school, right? But I knew I had the juice. So instead, I decided to go ahead and call these people directly. I said, I know I can be a good dental student. So I called each diversity office. I said, listen, this is who I am. This is where I am in life. I know I'm capable. What do I need to do? And they walked me from A to Z. And by that time, a lot of times when I got my paper in front of these schools, they said, oh, I recognize this person. Oh, I talked to him or on the phone, you know? So don't be afraid to go what you want to get in. Be persistent while you're going for it. There's nothing wrong with a proactive approach.
So ever since I've gotten into dental school, I've had time to reflect back. And the one thing I did actually dislike a lot during undergrad is when these schools came to talk to us, these dental schools. They made it sound like unless you had a 3.8 GPA, 23 DAT, you're not getting in. Right. It really crushed you. I'm going to give you some stats. I had a 3.25 GPA. I had an average DAT score. When these schools came and talked, they made it sound like I had no chance. My counselor, when I applied the first time, she was like, why did you apply? You're not going to get in. And it took me 2 applications to get in. The reality is, family, friends, all of a sudden you graduate college, your friends are working, making money, and you're sitting at home with your mom and going to grad school. That's the reality. That was my reality for 1.5 years when I was in grad school. Friends are having fun, going on with life, and you're still stagnant. So people stop believing in you. People stop thinking that you can do it. At the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, if you want it, do it. It's that simple. Like if someone with my stats could get in, I broke it down, I realized what I had done wrong in undergrad. I partied the first 2 years. And I realized that maybe a few percent of the society is smarter than me, but most of the people that are here work hard. So as long as I work hard and I break down every day and be the best possible person I can be, break down as perfectly as possible every day, eventually I'll get into dental school. So my advice to you is, or my advice to my younger self would be, regardless of anything that anyone tells you, keep going if you want, and I guarantee you'll get here eventually.
So if I were to give myself one piece of advice, it would definitely be to not stress. So unlike Aiden and Chris, I did not party at all. Like I knew what I wanted to do. No, seriously, I partied out. So I came into undergrad knowing exactly like, oh my God, all these schools are saying I have to have such a high GPA. Oh my God, I have to start studying for my DT. Like I was freaking out. I was like losing my mind because I knew what I wanted, and so I found myself actually not going out at all. It got to a point where I was working 3 jobs, and I didn't really give time to interact with others on the weekend. Like I didn't even do any of that. I was just like strictly spending my Saturday nights just like doing work for the next week. Like I was like, honestly, I got to a point where I was doing way too much. And yes, there's a balance. Like you don't want to party too much, and you don't want to do what I did. So yes, it will pay off. Hard work always pays off, but we really need to find that balance. And I stress a lot, so I don't recommend that you stress. Whatever is meant to happen will happen. I promise you that. So of course, like Aiden just said, you know, if you really want something, you will get it.
You said that you stressed a lot, or on the front end of everything.
Yes.
And I'm sure you all, or I hope you all are not, but I'm sure you all are stressed about grades and your DAT. Now that we've taken the DAT, tell these students who are about to take their DAT, if there was one thing as far as like focus on X, or look over roadmaps in DAT, destroyer a couple times. Is there any one piece of advice you give them with regards to the DAT?
Yeah, so definitely you want to have a kind of, I want to say, steady plan. I don't know if you guys know Ari, the boot camp guy. Yeah, he's pretty famous right now. So I actually kind of took his guide and I made it my own and figured out what worked with my schedule and everything. I still worked on the weekends, and I even brought my DAT book to work. I was a server, so I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. Anyways, so definitely make a steady schedule because it's really difficult to keep on top of things. I mean, even when I was studying for boards, same thing, I had a schedule. So definitely do that, and I recommend that you practice the PAT a little bit every day because yes, it's good to have that like every day, maybe 1 or 2 weeks before your exam to really be sharp on it. But the PAT is the section that I feel everyone can get really good at if you practice a lot. And no one wants to be practicing like 8 hours of PAT a week before their exam. You're gonna lose your mind. So definitely practice that a little bit every day. It'll become fun, I promise you. I enjoyed it for a little bit. Maybe do 60 seconds, challenge yourself, do a couple problems. It really only takes that. Also, do the DAT question of the day. I got emails, and I just woke up. I was starting class at 9, and I just looked at my phone, did the question really quick. You do that every day, and it kind of preps you. So I might recommend that. And then I recommend as far as materials, I don't know if you want me to go over it, but I can. So for organic, I definitely recommend a combination of the DAT Destroyer and Bootcamp. What was really representative of the section for me personally was the way that Bootcamp structured their questions. Now for bio, it's very broad, so you don't know what to really expect from it. I remember I just use a variety of sources for bio. You really can't know everything for bio, so really don't try to know everything. It's just, there's too much. So with that, I would just continue using the Bootcamp or the Destroyer. I actually used Crack the DAT. The question's a little bit harder in my opinion, and so that was good for me to know if I really knew something. I did that more towards the end of my studies. But I wouldn't say that's a mandatory, just letting you know it's a little bit harder questions. So yeah, I just really recommend Bootcamp. It's really representative. And the DAT Destroyer, there's a lot to it. Don't feel overwhelmed, and do not start the Destroyer a month before your exam, because you will likely forget a lot of information. So definitely recommend incorporating it a little, maybe 2 weeks before your exam. And of course, the questions are a lot harder, so don't beat yourself up over it. And I'm going to leave this last bit of advice. When you're going over questions, which is the #1 thing you should be doing to practice, try to really understand why each answer choice is right or wrong, So you really understand the question. Don't try to memorize, just try to really understand. I think I caught everything.
Anybody else? No, that was great. Thank you. Does anybody else have any advice? Yeah.
So I hated the DAT. Hearing the words, no, just so much anxiety all over. How many here have taken it already? A handful, okay. And how many here are planning on taking, have a scheduled date? Okay. And the rest is coming, okay. So, yes, set yourself a schedule, yes, use all of the different products that Melanie recommended. I use the Kaplan, at-home videos, so I bought that program, I liked it. But my little segment on the DAT is, don't let it deter you from applying, because my DAT score was very low. I don't know how I got into school with my DAT score. But that's the most important thing, is that I still got in, right? So I did all of these other things, and I had a well-rounded resume. I was involved, I was committed, I'd done all of these other things. So if you've taken it and you don't like your score and you have time, sure, you have time to improve it, take it again. I took it and then sent my application like the next day. So there was no way, I was sending it in no matter what score I got. And I'm happy that I did. I mean, I got in on my first try, and I still don't know how I'm here with that score, but if you have time, definitely take it again. But if you don't have time, then, apply anyway and just see what happens, because you might be surprised that, if you're involved in so many other things, that other things will make up for it.
So, this is, even though it's my first year in middle school, I probably would have been in here a lot faster than what I was, had I got over the fear of failure. So to be completely transparent, I feared the DAT, right? I knew I wanted to go be a dentist, get to dental school, all that stuff. But yeah, you're gonna go to dental school, blah, 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 but deep down, I hadn't even signed up for the damn test yet. So, the first step I would say for everyone is sign up for the test. I'm one of those people where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and study for like 8 months or whatever. I'm gonna learn everything I need to learn. When the DAT comes, I'll just, sign up all nonchalant, go in there and bust out 30, no big deal, right? Boy, was I lying to myself. That's just not how it works. I had to put the pressure on myself. So I signed up for it, ended up pushing it, and then when I got serious, to the person that doesn't make schedules, aka my wife making the schedule, I finally made a schedule in terms of getting ready for the DAT. And so that's what I did, and it forced my hand to actually study. On top of that, what I did, which I think was smart, was attack what I hated the most first, which was organic chemistry. I took that bad boy twice in undergrad, okay? I hated organic. But that actually ended up being my highest score when I took my DAT because of that. I attacked it first. So I hit Chad's videos. I should have just not went to school and just learned from Chad. I learned more from Chad than I did from Dr. Lash. So I did Chad's videos. He basically re-taught me organic because it had been years since I had been out of school, since I took it. And then after that, I went and got destroyed by the destroyer. Why would I do that? I don't know. But after a while, so many of those L's, taking it every single day, started turning into actually wins and actually getting it right. And so using that to not only do those questions, but more importantly, take the time afterwards to learn why the heck you got that thing wrong and learn the concept behind it, that's what pushes you forward. So face your fears, attack your fears head on, both signing up for the test and then when you do, signing up for or doing the part that you hate the most. So when you get to something like PAT or whatever you do like, it's easy breezy. Easier said than done, but like I said, just face it head on rather than kind of, I can't wait, I don't know when I'm going to do it. Just sign up for it.
All right, thank you. So this is going to be the, you want to say something? All right, so this is the last question before we open it up to questions from you all. Work-life balance. I know a couple of you all have talked about that. How do you have fun in dental school? We're stressed a lot of the time. And I know that's something that I wondered when I was coming in. Would I be able to hang out with my friends? Would I be able to entertain people when they came into town, things like that? What do you do, or are you able to have fun while you're in dental school?
Absolutely, you can definitely have fun, but once again, first year students still figuring it out. Every weekend is like, okay, should I go out? Should I stay in? You never know. You never know if it's worth it or not. But I do think it's absolutely possible to have that balance. My boyfriend lives here, so when I just need like a night off or I need to just chill out, we'll go to a movie or I'll schedule time to hang out with my friend from college who lives here. It's just, you have to, I think I said this before, you just have to put those things as a priority and then you'll realize how important they are. It's definitely possible to have fun. Like first years, the joke is like, Wild Rover is this bar that's always open for students, and it's like, yeah, we like to go there after we have a hard test, or the class likes to get together and do a social event. So it's definitely possible to have fun. Dental school is fun for the most part. And yeah, it's not something to really worry about, but it's a balance for sure.
So work-life balance is hard, but what I've done is I kind of combine things. So, it's good to work out every day, right? Okay, so we try. But what I've done is I have signed up for different workout classes. So I do a workout class every single day. But I make it fun by trying boxing one day, or spinning another day, or bar another day, and I just kind of switch it up. So I'm doing something that's good for me, that I probably should always be doing, but I'm making it fun. Also like meal prep. So I turned my Sundays into meal prep and then watching the Patriots destroy the other teams at the same time. So it's fun for me. I look forward to my Sunday afternoons because I get to watch the game and I get to meal prep and I'm doing two things at once. So I think, we struggle with having not enough time in the day, not enough time in the week to do all of these things. But if you start making things that you should be doing fun, I go to the laundromat and that's when I watch Netflix. So I get excited to go to the laundromat and do my laundry because I get to watch Netflix. So I think that you start using your time in unique ways, but it is important to find that time to get your things done, but also to enjoy yourself. Quality of life is super important here, and I think it's really easy to get caught up in the stress of class.
So Lena brings up a good point. There's a lot of times it's not really spoken of that much, the importance of the work-life balance. For me, a lot of times, especially after a hard test, I live vicariously through my classmates' snaps and Instagrams. I'm like, oh, that's lit. They're over there partying and everything. My party usually involves Pampers and wipes. So that's what we do now. It is still fun. I wouldn't trade it. So for me, it's all about finding something that allows you to take care of yourself, but get your mind away from dentistry. Make sure you keep some friends around you when, we're going to speak it now in existence, when you do get into dental school, put yourself around people who are not dental folks, so you can talk about things other than teeth all the time. Because when you do get around with your colleagues and they're sitting there talking about teeth, you get someone who has no idea what you're talking about, like, why am I even sitting here? So make sure you keep some of those around in different places. But balance your work life and good to keep you mentally healthy. Because the stressors of class and getting ran around here like crazy can wear on you. And so you always need that mental escape. And make sure it's a healthy mental escape too. That doesn't always mean going to the bar, kicking it, do anything. Sometimes, okay? Look, I love a good glass of wine, okay? But at the same time, it's like, make sure you do something. For me, I found running and putting on some music sometimes is all the decompression I need, right? Playing with my child, that's all the decompression I need. So find what works best for you that's still healthy, that allows you to bounce back and still get back to work.
So, the same birds with the same feather flock together. And that has kind of helped bring a balance in my life in dental school. So I'm a very competitive person. I like sports. And my buddy right there, Tyler, the first time we actually hung out was we went to a gym. So having people who have the same interests as me has kept me accountable. He's competitive, I'm competitive. So if he's up at 6 a.m. working out, I'm making sure I'm up at 6 a.m. working out. And that has actually brought a lot of balance in my life, where I'm able to do that or talk sports with him or Terrell. So there is fun in dental school, not as much as undergrad. Definitely not as much as undergrad. Yeah, it's okay. But you get balance in other ways. And for me, that's through working out and hanging out with friends. I never liked hiking or going and walking outside. Granted, I was from Texas, so you don't want to walk outside. But I found joy in those things and staying active, and it is possible to do it. You have to change your schedule up, like I said. I hate the mornings, but I'm waking up in the morning to go work out. You have to change what you're used to, but you can still have a lot of fun. I can say with ease that I'm still enjoying my time in dental school and I'm not completely miserable. So.
So unlike an undergrad where I never went out, now I find myself going out almost every weekend. And that's crazy, right? Yeah, well, yeah, I'm surprised too to this day, but it's true. So how did I do it? I study less, I study smarter instead. It took me a year to figure that out, so I'm still new to it. But my advice to you, you can even do this right now, seriously, in undergrad. So when you're tackling material, there's studies showing that you cannot retain information after reading something for 45 minutes. And the most important part to do is stop what you're doing and recall what you just read. A lot of us find, I'm guilty of this as well. I will read something for so long, think I'm studying so hard, I have all these papers out, books everywhere, and then I realize, what did I just read? I have no idea what I just read. Because you're passively reading, you're tired, you're doing this 24/7. So what you really need to do is set a timer on your phone, stop what you're doing, and then ask yourself, what did I just learn in this 45 minutes? Maybe jot it down, maybe just say it out loud. I'm telling you, this stuff works. You cannot find yourself studying so much, there's so much material, it's not worth your time. It's not. And in addition to that, cardio is very important. It actually improves your memory, and studies behind that as well. You can read about it. I did a lot of research because I was just really intrigued when I found this stuff out once in my life. Last semester I figured this out. And so yeah, doing cardio. Everyone knows that it releases endorphins. All that also improves your mood. So I highly recommend that you maintain that. And keep yourself in check when you're studying, so you make sure that you're making the most out of your time and retaining the most you can while going out and having fun. So you can definitely balance it.
Thank you. So I would now like to open the floor to questions. If you all have anything you want to ask our panelists, please feel free to raise your hand, and we'll get that answer for you.
I have a question about the teacher style. Is it more so independent study versus project-based study or problem-based learning, or is it more so like lecture?
So it's mostly lecture right now for the didactic courses, and then for all your dental courses, of course it's more hands-on, but you do begin with a lecture, and then it's hands-on after that. We do have basics presentations, which I don't know if, sincerely, know more about it, because I only did one basics presentation, so if you want to explain it a little bit, you want.
I'm a third year, I think, yeah. So I'm a third year. Each student, so we have a family here. We get assigned, it's called a VIP group. So when you come into Tufts, you'll be assigned a second year, a third year, and a fourth year. You're like a family, so you have bigs and littles. So you do this project with your bigs and littles, and you basically do a case presentation on a patient that the fourth year has seen and done all the work on. So most of class here is strictly lecture. But then there are a few, this thing only happens once a year, so it's not super important right now. But so the first year we'll do, a presentation on what they've learned the first year. So they'll do an anatomy review of the mouth, and then the second year we'll do something medical and pharmacology related, because that's what you learn in your second year. And then the third year we'll do something research-based. So they will talk about, some type of research question. It could be a materials question, it could be a procedural question, the success of implants, things like that. And then the fourth year kind of wraps it all together, saying, this is all the work that I did on this patient. I did these implants, I did these crowns. So it's a really cool thing that Tufts does here, and little segue into the Big Little program. I'm not sure how many other schools have that, but it's really cool here, because I'm constantly asking my fourth year, things in the clinic that I need help with, or I have a patient and I'm doing a root canal and I need her to like assist me. So it's cool because the first year is close with the second year, and the second year is close to the third year. And you have this like small family where you can give and get advice. So it's a really cool thing that Tufts has.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, you're right there.
How many different schools did you apply to, and what factors did you take into consideration when deciding which schools you're going to apply to?
Yeah, okay, so I applied twice. The first time I applied to 12 or 13 schools, got denied from every single one, right? Heartbreaking. But again, that's before I went to grad school and got my life together. Anyways, so when I was searching for schools, there was, and it's probably still out there, I think the ADA releases like that book. It gives you all the stats on schools, right? I knew for me, I wanted something that was going to be conducive, where I would feel comfortable for the next 4 years. I want people who, as a bigger class, I wanted a lot of diversity, and I wanted just access to a lot of resources. So Tufts was a really good fit for me. And so when I was searching through different schools, I looked at every single stat. I said, well, how big is the class? How many minorities are in there? How long has the school been going on? How long is the program? What city is it located in? You know, I didn't want to be out on the farm. I'm from the cornfields of Illinois, so I wanted to make sure I could get access to somewhere, especially just moving, my wife and I just coming out of Houston. So we needed to be somewhere with access to resources. And so I kind of screened based upon that. Once I narrowed down in terms of where I wanted to go, then I started finding who I knew at those schools, if I knew anybody. I searched through fraternity brothers, I searched through admissions counselors, whoever I could get my hands on to see who was at these respective schools and who I could talk to see if this would be a good fit. So I would screen them just as hard as they were screening me to see, like, look, I know what I'm coming to do, and I know I'm going to spend 4 years here. I want to make sure that it's a good fit. So I base it off of those, but find what works best for you, what you're looking for out of a dental school, right? Because it's a two-way street. I know you're doing anything you want just to get in, but once you do get accepted to all these schools, you need to find somewhere that you can feel comfortable calling home for the next 4 years. Because you're investing in them just as much as they're investing in you. So find out what you want first, and kind of select your schools based off of that. The scores and everything, of course, those do play a difference, right? I may have considered applying to Harvard if I thought I would have got a 30 on my PAT. But instead, I'd rather decide to do something that's more conducive to what I want.
So I was on the opposite side of the spectrum. I applied to 4 schools, 3 of them in Boston. So I am from Massachusetts. I don't think that I could ever live anywhere else. I don't think my personality would fit in anywhere else. So I think I actually came to this Impressions Day when I was your age. And somebody gave this piece of advice I want to give you guys. They said, don't bother applying to a school that you're not going to go to. Because if you get in at that school, what does that look like the second time you apply to somewhere else? If you want to be a dentist, you're going to go and be a dentist anywhere. So only apply to schools where you could see yourself living there, you could see yourself maybe practicing in the area, because here, you know, we're networking so much right now. I plan on practicing in Boston because of, you know, having all the connections here. So, you know, maybe choose a school where you might want to practice one day because there is so much networking. And don't bother applying to a school that you don't want to go to.
So I did the opposite of her. I applied everywhere because I thought I just wanted to be in dental school. I was like, I don't care if it's in the middle of a farm. For 4 years, I'll put up with it, and I'll be out. I'm fine with it. Looking back now, I've actually gotten really lucky because Tufts is amazing. Boston is okay, but Tufts is amazing. I'm not used to the cold. But I got very, very lucky because I have friends that are in other schools that are just hating their life. And you gotta understand, besides the application that you're putting in, the investment there, you are also putting in investment into dental school with the money you're given for tuition. So if I would have gone somewhere that I didn't like, I would have been very miserable, and by the blessing of God, I'm here. But I would do what she said, research the schools, see if your stats match the schools. Again, I didn't apply to Harvard either. But I picked those, I would go back and pick the schools that I thought would be best fit for me. I love this school because it's so culturally diverse that you get to experience every aspect of human culture. But make sure you're kind of picky with the schools you apply to.
So I also recommend that you talk to admissions directors a little bit early, if you can. I did that for a couple schools and I gave them my stats. It really helped to see where I stood. And I also don't recommend that you get discouraged if you feel like a school's stats are way above what you have. It's a whole holistic, I promise you that. So a majority of admissions committees look at your application holistically. They look at everything that you're involved in. They look at your personal statement that is heavily weighted, I think, personally, for a lot of schools. They want diversity, they want uniqueness, and they want someone who's very passionate about this field. So don't let the numbers discourage you. But definitely I recommend speaking to admissions directors. That's what they're there for, and they remember you. So.
And I think we have time for one more question. Yeah, I saw your hand a little earlier.
That's okay. What's the faculty-student relationship like at Tufts?
It's wonderful. I think it's great. Honestly, like, I mean, I don't have numbers for a ratio, but I feel like I'm always tended to, especially in like operative, we're in operative, now we're in fixed pros. There is at least one faculty member or two per row. And yeah, so, I'm sorry? So it's 1-to-1.
12 to 1. 12 to 1. 12 to 1.
Let me just say that. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. 12 to 1, sorry guys. So yeah, like I said, per row you have at least one faculty member. So I never find myself really worried about that at all. If anyone wants to add to that.
The faculty here is amazing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they're pretty much amazing. Just what, week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we went and had breakfast with the dean of admissions, basically. So they don't treat you, there's that faculty-student type of relationship, but they treat you like future dentists. They really do. But they expect the same out of you. So that level of professionalism is a lot different than what you would have had in undergrad or grad school. So they're going to look at you like an adult. They're going to treat you like an adult. They're going to treat you like a future dentist. But then at the same time, they're going to respect what you're going to bring to the table to them. So their relationship is awesome. I can go up, most of them hang out on the 15th floor where their offices are, and then we have our classes and whatnot down here. It's nothing for me to go upstairs and just go talk to them, have a conversation, and they don't think twice about it. So the relationship, the bond is actually really awesome. It really is. And honestly, they're connected. They're dentists. They've already done all this, right? So who knows who they can put you in contact with further down the road too. So it is really awesome.
I can speak to the student-faculty relationship in clinic when we're treating patients. They really do treat you like a colleague. You know, sure, they know way more than we do, but you know, they'll take you aside and they'll discuss and teach you while you're working on the patient. And it's such a unique experience because they really treat you like you're going to be a doctor in a year. You know, some people are graduating in a couple months, and they treat you like you're already there. You know, of course, with some restrictions, but it really is great here. That's one of the things that I loved about Tufts, and one of the reasons why I decided to come here.
Just one thing to add, as first years, we get the opportunity to have like a mentor, a faculty mentor, and that's really a wonderful opportunity. So they just kind of assign you, you can ask for someone, or you can say, you know, I'm interested in this specialty, maybe they'll pair you up with one of those faculty members, but then it's kind of on both of you, or whatever group that may be, mentor and mentee, to kind of meet up and get as much as you can from that relationship. So they definitely provide connections and relationships for you to build and grow with the faculty.
Can we please give our panelists a round of applause? If you all have any questions, I'm sure they'll stick around for, maybe 10 minutes after this program. I know they have a lot to do. You can get their contact information, shoot them an email, whatever it may be. But definitely network and use these resources while you can. Up next is a friend.
All right, y'all, so that was the Impressions Day panel. I hope you guys gained a lot from that, as all the students there said they did. Definitely take these tools and tips, use them to your advantage, getting into school, preparing for the DAT and everything. If you have any questions for maybe the panelists or any questions for us, add it down to the comment section. And if not there, you can head over to Instagram, type in FutureDDS, look for that orange smile, and follow us there. If you send us a DM, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Other than that, make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so you know whenever we post up new content. But that's gonna be it. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, y'all.